Hey, this is Julia from Swadharma, and today I'd like to talk about the female pelvic floor and some other postpartum AcroYogini business. In Acro Yoga, we spend a lot of time upside down in inversions or upside down flying postures, and in Acro Yoga, we're usually a lot of happy, celebrating people, and we also are in touch with our bodies. So what does happen in the practice is we have three different types of farts, and I want to go through them with you. Not only that Acro Yoga in itself is a very intimate practice, but when moving, a lot of intimacy is also happening in where air can enter and leave the body. One is a back fart, and a back fart usually happens to the base when naked sweaty back is on a yoga mat, and there is a suction happening when a neutral back and sweat and a mat kind of are glued together, and when the back comes into a lordosis, which is its natural state, there is a sound like a fart when the air comes into this vacuum that has happened. It doesn't smell. Usually everyone has a laugh and the base says it wasn't a proper fart, and everyone just gets back on the horse and continues to fly. There is another type of fart which is a regular fart that happens when we squeeze all the organs so much because we want to hold a position, and then big deal, a fart leaves our body. That sometimes does smell. We still have a laugh about it and usually get back on the horse and continue to fly. There is another type of fart, which is a vaginal fart, and that often, when it happens first time, turns women's faces red and they kind of want to leave the room and never come back. It happens when you turn a body upside down and the weight of the organs is pushed into the rib cage and air is sucked into the vaginal canal because the pelvic floor loosens when you're upside down. And then you put the body right side up again. The organs push on the air. The pelvic floor has tightened because it's right side up again, and then it pushes the air out and it makes the sound of a major fart. There is little to do about it. By the way, if a man tells you it was a vaginal fart, it's usually a lie. However, if you're a woman, there is little to do about it because it doesn't only happen postpartum, it also happens to women couple of days before they get their moon. What you can do is you can squeeze your transverse abdominis and all of the muscles of your lower abdomen and your pelvic floor, and that can help to squeeze the air out before you turn right side up again, and then the air is out, and usually there is no sound. Sometimes you just can't, and there is some air lifting and there is a sound. Well, big deal. I like to talk about it in my classes so people know, and there is just less embarrassment around that whole thing. Yet I do know, and I also know it for myself, that there's still some embarrassment around it, even if I do talk about it and now I post it on YouTube. That's just what it is. That's the reality of being a woman. What I do want to talk about is pelvic health and pelvic floor for women postpartum, especially for AcroYoginis, as we do like to work out and we do like strong workouts. What I did in my first pregnancy and postpartum is I got into big movements and big muscle groups way too fast, which meant that my pelvic floor basically stayed on vacation for a long time because the big muscle group just took over and supported most of my movements. Yet when I was carrying my first daughter for long walks, I felt the weight of the organs sitting on my pelvic floor really heavily. So I took the chance of having that reset button time postpartum after my second pregnancy and got really in touch with my pelvic floor, and also tried to get in touch with the different layers and the different muscles. And I wasn't satisfied with only doing Kegels. Also, with the cue of doing a Kegel is the same action like stopping your urine flow. Stopping your urine flow is your urethral sphincter, is only that one little muscle that stops your urine flow, but really your pelvic floor is a whole set of muscles that is in your pelvic bowl to support the weight of the organs. Yes, the organs are attached to the bones in your rib cage and also your spine, yet there is a lot of weight pushing down into the pelvic floor. So it's really necessary to work this area. What I swear by is pelvic floor trainers. They do give a very clear and honest feedback of what the pelvic floor is doing during what time of the day. I found it's really easy to do my pelvic floor exercises on my mat when someone takes care of my baby or my baby's happy, and when I do my yoga practice and when I'm really like focused on me and my body. Yet when I go and do my everyday tasks around the house, it's very easy for me to lose the connection to the pelvic floor. So the pelvic floor trainers, they are inserted in the vaginal canal and they sit on the pelvic floor. And it helps the subconscious holding pattern of the pelvic floor to engage itself and make sure that it gives that rebound that you need when you cough, sneeze, walk, exercise. So there are pelvic floor trainers out there that you can buy in shops, and they come in different sizes and in different weights, and you can work yourself up from 20 grams to up to 70 or 80 grams. I personally like crystals more than any other material, so I have worked with different crystal eggs, and I found it very, very interesting to just observe in which moments my pelvic floor loosens and how fast my pelvic floor gets tired, or also how fast my pelvic floor actually responds to the pelvic floor trainer, and how fast I work myself up from a couple of minutes to basically the whole morning. What is also really important when training your pelvic floor, you want to make sure that you don't tighten your pelvic floor, because you want to have a toned pelvic floor, and a toned pelvic floor can contract and can release, because your pelvic floor should do what your diaphragm does, your breathing diaphragm. It should be able to move along with your breath, so you have a healthy movement of the organs in your pelvic area. That was my 2 cents for AcroYogini's postpartum and the pelvic floor, and I really hope that this helped you a little bit. And what I would like for you is to take the time to stay in that isolated zone of the pelvic floor before you go into your big movements, and also when you have started to go into your big movements already. Always come back to the basis, the basics. The core is the foundation for healthy aging. It helps to prevent organs to prolapse. It helps a lot of things that we really don't want to deal with when we're 50, 60, 70, 80, or 100. So take that time, and I encourage you to speak with your sisters, because we have so much wisdom around these circles of women, and if we all share and we're open about it, I'm really sure that we can prevent a lot of things that we really don't want to experience in older ages. Thank you, and happy postpartum time.